Welcome to Easy Stories in English, the podcast that will take your English from okay to good and from good to great. I am Ariel Goodbody, your host for this show. Today's story is for pre-intermediate learners. The name of the story is Eileen. I'll just explain some words that are in today's story. When a child is precocious, Precocious, it means that they act much older than they are. Precocious children might read a lot of books, ask difficult questions to adults, and understand people's emotions very well. Hermione Granger from Harry Potter is a very precocious child. When you bully someone, bully, you are mean to them for no reason. Most bullies are found in schools, and they are mean to and hurt other kids for fun. Bullying is a serious problem, because if you are bullied, it can affect you for your whole life. When you want to change how someone looks, you can give them a disguise. Disguise. For example, maybe you want to talk to someone you like, but you don't want them to know who you are, so you disguise yourself. You put on glasses, grow a beard, change your clothes, change your voice, and so on. People use disguises a lot in spy movies, like James Bond. You can also disguise your emotions, hide how you really feel about something. A bruise, bruise, is a blue, yellow, or purple mark that you get when you hurt yourself. For example, if someone hits you, you will have a bruise on your arm. If you fall over, you will have a bruise on your leg. Bruises usually take a few days to go away. Acid, ACID, is a liquid that is used in scientific experiments. Acid is quite dangerous as it can burn your skin. Acids lower the pH level of something. Some food is also acidic. For example, lemons are very acidic, which is why they taste sour. Climate change, CLIMATE, or global warming, is the way that our world is changing. Because we burn too many fossil fuels like oil and gas, we are raising the level of CO2, carbon dioxide, in the atmosphere. This makes the world hotter, and so the climate changes. Of course, the super powerful computers needed to run AI aren't helping slow down climate change. When you come up with something, you think of an idea or a plan. For example, the first thing I have to do when writing an episode of Easy Stories in English is come up with an idea for the story. If I'm having a really good day, I might come up with several ideas. Hacking, HACK, is when you break into someone else's phone or computer. People who hack into other people's technology are called hackers. Hackers usually hack so that they can steal data or money, or embarrass someone. Obviously, hacking is illegal. If you disprove something, DISPROVE, then you show that it is wrong. When you are doing a scientific experiment, you start with a hypothesis, an idea that you want to prove. Sometimes you have a null hypothesis. You want to prove that there is not a relation between two things. Often, this is to disprove a hypothesis from other studies. Of course, in order to disprove a hypothesis, you'll need lots of scientific studies, not just one. Okay. So listen and enjoy. Eileen. Once upon a time, there was a little girl called Eileen who learned faster than everyone else. Yes, she was a girl, although many of the other children at school also thought she was a boy because she always had her hair cut short. Long hair wastes time, she said, and if a kid kept asking about it, she said it again in Chinese. While her classmates played with rocks and sang songs, Eileen did maths problems in her head. At that point, the adults hadn't realised just how different she was. They thought she was just a very precocious child. But as the years passed, the issue became clearer. You see, Eileen's growth in intelligence was exponential. That was an idea she understood already at the age of 8, while the other children were working on basic maths. Outside the classroom, the kids had stopped playing with rocks and started bullying each other, but Eileen continued to sit alone, dreaming of her own exponential growth curve. Of course, they bullied Eileen too. It was impossible not to hate her. When she wasn't telling you you were wrong and exactly why you were wrong, she was telling you not to be so loud. Couldn't you see she needed to think? At first, her parents complained to the school about the bullies, but soon they started to think, well, maybe some bullying will help her be a bit more normal. You could have said that the bullying grew exponentially. First, the kids called Eileen cruel names. Then they stole her lunch and tore up her homework. By the end of the year, they were following her home and throwing rocks at her. Eileen never ran from them. She just walked calmly. If she felt sad, she disguised it well. Most of the rocks didn't hit her anyway, and when a rock did hit her, it never left a bruise. Her parents hid inside, the curtains closed, and watched as the children got bored and left her. Then they opened the door to Eileen and said, "Welcome home, darling," and tried to sound very, very happy. Eileen's mother, Jennifer, felt horrible about all this. Before she gave birth, she loved the idea of a precocious daughter. Hermione Granger had always been her favourite Harry Potter character. But those were films, and as Eileen began to act more and more like a character, her mother stopped seeing her as a human. One night, she woke up and heard a noise coming from Eileen's room. She had got a chemistry set recently, so Jennifer thought she was playing with that. That made her happy. Eileen had been disappointed with the chemistry set at first because she said there were no acids. Jennifer thought that maybe, just maybe, Eileen had started playing with toys like a normal child. And she wanted to see that. She wanted hope. But when she walked into Eileen's room, she found the girl lying under her bed, writing in a notebook. "Eileen," said Jennifer, "what are you doing? Why are you down there?" She knew she should have said, "It's past your bedtime." But she hadn't been able to punish Eileen for a long time. It just never worked. Eileen always said something like, "There are many theories about good parenting, and you follow none of them." And then Jennifer felt like she was being punished. But this time, Eileen just said, "I'm writing poetry. Unusual spaces help me feel creative." Then she said something in Chinese. It was probably her own translation of the phrase. She liked doing that. Still, Jennifer was excited. Eileen was being creative. She was a bit young to be writing poetry, but at least she wasn't playing with acid. "Oh, I'll leave you to write then." Jennifer stopped at the door. She had to know. "What kind of poetry? I mean, what are you writing about?" Eileen replied, again without turning around. "Climate change. I came up with some ideas for how to end climate change, you see, and I'm trying to find the best way to explain them to people. Most scientists never use poetry, because they're stupid." "Oh," said Jennifer, disguising her fear. After that night, whenever she heard strange noises coming from Eileen's room, she didn't go in. And sometimes, when she and her husband watched the bullies throw rocks at Eileen, she felt like throwing a rock herself. Perhaps, like Eileen's parents, you thought that the bullies would help make the girl normal. It is a cruel thought, I know, but don't worry. This is a space to share our feelings. We're all humans here. But the bullying did not work. Eileen saw the exponential growth curve and she stopped it. At the beginning of the next school year, very few children came into school. Some drank from their water bottle as they sat on the bus and found that the water had been replaced with acid. Some found that their internet accounts had been hacked and embarrassing pictures of them had been posted online. And some woke up with a strange bruise on their neck and found that they couldn't speak English. Everything they said came out in Chinese. There was no way to prove that Eileen did it, but just like you, everyone thought it was her. She was very happy at school that day. She even smiled. She never smiled usually. She was too busy coming up with ideas to change the world, all in her head. And that was all she did that day, because her teachers refused to work. They went to the head teacher's office and said they wouldn't teach until that thing was gone. Eileen didn't seem to mind. That day, none of the other children laughed at her or threw rocks at her, and when she looked at them, they ran away and hid. By the time Eileen came home, her parents had heard everything, and they'd had enough. The door was locked. They thought Eileen would get mad and try to break the door down, but she was calm about the whole thing. Terribly calm. She looked for the spare key which they kept under a flower pot in the garden and found that it was gone. Weeks ago, Eileen had already expected this. She was always great at planning and expecting what might happen, much better than her parents. They used to go to the supermarket with her, and she would tell them exactly what they needed to buy and even suggest new recipes. At first, they had thought it was sweet. Now they watched through the bedroom curtains, shaking with fear, as their daughter pulled another front door key from her pocket. She must have had it copied. Where did she even get the money? Jennifer screamed, but the little girl didn't open the door. She just looked up at the window where her parents were hiding and waved at them. It was like she was saying, "I could come and get you if I wanted to." But she didn't. She put the key back in her pocket, turned around and left. They watched her walk down the street and disappear into the town. They didn't relax until she was gone, and even then they stood holding each other in the bedroom for almost an hour. Nobody knew where Eileen went, but they kept waiting to find out. She was a time bomb. Her growth curve flew like a jet plane into the sky, heading to planets no human could see, to places no human could breathe. Surely soon, she would appear and pull them back into her world. Months passed, and then years, and still Eileen could not be found. Jennifer screamed at children who asked their parents precocious questions. Every time one of Eileen's old classmates got a bruise, they bit their fingers until they bled. Brave computer hackers called themselves Eileen, and then they got hacked too. Nowhere was safe, because she was everywhere, and she was nothing. Life went on like before. Presidents lied, wars were fought, and climate change continued. But now, nobody could trust themselves or the people around them. Perhaps all this time, your husband, your dog, your boss was just Eileen in disguise. Perhaps the whole world was Eileen. There was no way of knowing, and no way to disprove it. And isn't that what scientists say? If you can't disprove something, then there's still a chance it might be true. She was just a child, I hear you say. But children are the key to the future. We can only hope they choose the right door. The end.